Bear, it sounds like you've made your mind up, huh?
LeBron's good. He's a pretty good player.
If you just made your mind up about that, then we've probably got some issues.
I used to think he wasn't in Jordan's league. He maybe sat at the same table, but he might be a better all-around player than Jordan was. Jordan's still Jordan, and he's still probably considered the greatest. But LeBron, what he's doing in these playoffs, and especially in the NBA Finals, pretty impressive.
Not the Stanley Cup final.
Not the Stanley Cup final, no.
Well, we can talk about LeBron a little bit later on, and he doesn't have the rings, but for everybody who wanted to say, he only did it because he had the big three and had the guys alongside him, or couldn't win finals, or now he's taking too many shots, it's just kind of sick of. Yeah, I'm sick of the people who need to find reasons that he's not good enough. And
right.
If they wind up winning this, it's going to be something.
It'll be the greatest single performance ever, I got to believe.
First, we've got some high school stuff to get to. We'll talk about Janesville Craig traveling up to the WIAA State Baseball Tournament after a fun little Tuesday yesterday. And Beloit Turner, which will play up at Goodman Diamond in Madison Thursday, and hopefully for their sake on Saturday, looking for a softball championship.
Yep.
And we'll talk all that and much more coming up on this episode of Extra Points. Welcome back, everybody. We're back here on Extra Points, the Gazette's sports talk show / podcast /
Emmy award
webcast / soon to be award winning.
Yes,
I'm sure production. This is John Barry. He's a sports writer for the Gazette. I'm Eric Schmaltz, sports editor. And we both were down at Riverside for all or most of Tuesday in the hot sun watching some baseball and what we thought would be a pretty epic day. I don't know if we necessarily got the day that we'd hoped. We didn't see Parker and Craig. We didn't really get a dramatic sectional final, but in Craig's case, they don't really care if it was dramatic or not.
Parker laid an egg, and the Cougars found the golden egg. So, it was a day I don't think the final outcome was something that we didn't expect. I think you and I both felt going in that Craig was the best team, and that if they played the way they've been playing, they were going to win it. Parker
had won double-digit games in a row. They were hot, so I was intrigued by what kind of game they might be able to give.
I was intrigued by the matchups against those two teams. The fact that Simon Rosenblum-Larson, an all-Big 8 pitcher, was pitching against Craig, and the fact that Keaton Knaple, a kid that's going to Gonzaga, the junior from Verona, was pitching against Parker. But both Craig and Parker had beaten those kids earlier in the year. So you thought, okay, they've beaten them once, pretty good chance they'd beat them again, and that would set up Craig and Parker at 4 o'clock for all the marbles and what would have been just an electric Riverside Park. And
instead it was Craig beating West 5-2, Rosenblum-Larson just not really his typical self.
Didn't have his great stuff.
Craig took advantage of some blunders and got through it. And then Parker, 9-4, they lost in the second game. When you fall behind 4-0, that's pretty tough. They cut it back to 4-2, which usually maybe helps you get back in the game, but they never really finally.
And Brian Martin, their head coach, said it best afterwards. We picked a bad time to play our worst game of the season. In sectional semifinals, he's right there. There's not a good time for 6 errors, not at that level, and not with what you're going up against. So just too big of a hole to dig out of. And
it all set up the sectional final between Verona and Craig. And Verona, obviously, you can't pitch your starter, your ace pitcher 2 times in a row, and that's kind of what these sectionals are for. You figure out who's the best of the best, and it's all about pitching at the end. And obviously, Craig's hitters have been stout all season, and if you can't send your best at them, they're probably going to get to you.
Well, and if you've paid attention to the Cougars all year long, you know that they are always one to quickly get out of the gate, and that's true again on Tuesday. They scored early on West, first inning, put up numbers and put up runs, and then Verona got 2 in the first inning, and I think that really settled Chase Nyborg, Craig's starter, down. I think, coming off an appearance against Stoughton where he just wasn't sharp, he admitted that, and I think the Craig coaching staff knew that. But yesterday, with a couple extra days rest, he looked good. He was sharp, a 3-hitter through 5 innings, and really Verona did not get a lot of good swings on him.
Yeah, it was 10-0 in 5. It was over about as fast as it started, especially with that 4th inning when they put up 7 runs, kind of keyed by Jack Blomgren's triple.
3-run triple.
He played really well. I guess as we kind of look forward to next week in the state tournament, you don't really see weaknesses really anywhere on this Craig team. Mm-hmm. They've got Morrow, an ace pitcher. They've got Nyborg, who was basically their number 1 last year. Now he's filled. He's a great number 2.
Yes.
You've got Nick Kramer, Evan Spry,
Nick Blomgren in a pinch.
Jack Blomgren if you need him. I mean, they've got deep pitching. They've got a lineup that has no holes where you can say, I'll just pitch around this guy and get to the next one. They've got a catcher who's going to mow down guys that try to run on them if base runners do get on. I mean, with Arrowhead's loss, I mean, I would think that Janesville Craig has to be the favorite going into the state tournament next week.
And I would totally agree. And, in talking to longtime coach Bob Suter, who Vic Herbst took over for, we talked about it, and none of us could remember. If you look at Craig's lineup, their first 5 hitters are first-team All-Big 8. Well, that's Macaulay Cox, Evan Spry, Nick Blomgren, Kevin Brandt, J.T. Smithback. All 5 of their first 3 hitters are first-team All-Big 8. I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's almost a murderer's row you're throwing out there every game. And certainly, 6, 7, 8, 9. Chase Nyborg's a very good hitter. And, they put him in that 6th slot when he's pitching.
Jack Blomgren.
Has been solid at number 9.
As the second leadoff kind of guy.
He's kind of a second leadoff. And then Christensen, Trayton Christensen, the right fielder, has been very steady.
Speed when he gets on.
And speed and quick when he gets on. And really, Alex Morrow has swung a good bat as well. They used him in the designated hitter role yesterday in that second game. So just a great lineup. They committed 1 error yesterday in 2 games. The error didn't hurt them. All facets of the game, they're just playing really well, and hence that's why they're 26-1, and like you said, probably the favorite going into state.
Yeah, the other kind of top contenders. Arrowhead was a lineup with full of just Division I talent. They don't make it through. You got Bayport that Craig would possibly see in a semifinal, or Oconomowoc.
Right.
That's who beat Sun Prairie, so obviously they're impressive. Craig will start against Baraboo. I mean, I would think
Baraboo comes out of the Badger North, but they didn't even win the Badger North. The Forest won the Badger North. They were second at 8-4. I looked at their schedule. They lost to Wanakee. I think DeForest beat them twice. I don't think they have the pitching that the Cougars have, and I think with Craig's bats, again, if Macaulay Cox, like he's done all year, can get that team rolling and they can put up some runs early, with Alex Morrow, I like their chances, and that gets you into that semifinal game where you talked about. It's probably going to be Bayport, but whoever you might get, whether it's Bayport or
Oconomowoc,
the Cougars are in good shape because Nyborg will have rest. He'll have almost a week off to rest his arm, and that's when he threw better yesterday was with some rest. So I like the Cougars' chances, but again, 1 game, you don't know. You got to go up there and play, but certainly I think if you had to pick a favorite going in with their bracket, what their draw is, I would think the Cougars would have to be probably the pick.
I would think Kimberly is probably the favorite to come out of the other side.
Bracket, I would agree.
The other good thing about, if Morrow or Nyborg just doesn't have their stuff on that Tuesday, it's pretty easy to turn to somebody else and just say, well, we'll figure it out from here. Let's go to the next guy. And that's what you have to do. Bayport's got 2 excellent pitchers. Obviously, Milwaukee Reagan that beat Arrowhead 5-0. I don't know who pitched that game, but he obviously is very good because that team is loaded with Division I kids. Like 8 to 10 guys.
Yeah, and it was 5-0. They didn't even score. So usually that Milwaukee sectional is just a stepping stone for somebody in the area to beat up on in tournament, and that didn't happen this year. So, Arrowhead's first year of getting out of summer baseball into spring baseball, I think they thought, and everyone else thought, they'd coast the state tournament, and lo and behold, that powerhouse Milwaukee Reagan knocked them off.
I guess we probably won't get another video out before we get up there. So, I guess just anything else that's on your mind, an X factor or something that you think could play a major role in the hopefully what would be a 3-day experience for them up there.
Well, I think for the Cougars, it's don't change much. I can't see, changing the course of what's worked for them all season. And that starts, like you said, with really all 3 facets of the game. Defensively, they've been solid. The infield is strong. The outfields can run down balls and has good arms. And certainly with Blomgren behind the plate, you've got one of the best catchers in the state. So, defensively, you don't change much. Hitting-wise, they've been running on high octane all season long, and they're going to score runs. I think 3 is maybe the least the Cougars have scored all year in a game.
They won that long Madison Memorial game that kind of clinched the title, 2-1 in 12 innings.
And that was coming off the Sun Prairie loss, so I'm sure their Daubers are down a little bit that game. But and then the third thing certainly would just be overall athleticism and speed and getting on the bases. And Craig can run. Craig's got kids that can run. When they can bring in Berghammer to run run for Blomgren and Kraus to run for the pitcher, whoever that might be. That's a lot of speed on the bases. And if you saw yesterday, like we talked about with Jack Blomgren, he's fast.
Yep.
He hit that one to the gap yesterday, and he was on third fast. I mean, quickly. I mean, there wasn't any doubt about it. So a lot of speed through the lineup. And, again, the third facet obviously would be the pitching. And Morrow's been solid. Nyborg's 8-0. And I think if you get to that title game, it's like you talked about, it's committee. You maybe go Kramer 2 innings, Spry 2 innings, and hope you're in it and have Blomgren to shut the door at the end. So
a lot of different ways they could go there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hope you get there first, but I agree with you.
Situationally, I think, in any game that up there, they can do a lot of different things, which is always a help.
I like the Cougars to get there, and I like their chances to bring home the school's 4th state title.
The only other thing I guess I would think would be nerves.
Right.
But they've won a lot of close games this year, and I was kind of talking to Alex Morrow yesterday. It's a group of seniors where a lot of them played on a team that went to nationals as a 14U team, as a youth team. So they've been on big stages before.
And those kids have played so many on their traveling teams, whether it's DeMarini that Blomgren plays on and Brandt played on, or the hitters out of Racine or Sticks out of Oconomowoc. I mean, there's so many of those traveling teams that those kids have played on that they've traveled the Midwest and played in a lot of big tournaments. So is it the same as a state tournament? No, it's not, but they've been in some big situations, and I don't think I don't think it's going to bother them too much, and I would expect them to go up there and continue to play good baseball.
Just to get the schedule out there, Craig plays at approximately 3. I would imagine it's going to be more like 4:30, 4:30 even, depending on weather.
They do limit the infield. You only get 10 minutes of infield. So what they like to do is tell you 20 minutes after the conclusion of the previous game. Bayport and Oconomowoc scheduled to first pitch at 1. So let's say it's a 2-hour game. You're probably talking 3:30, 3:45. But certainly for people, I know WCLO is going to carry it, but for those of you who haven't been up to Grant Chute, it's a beautiful venue. It's a nice setting, and it's not too bad of a drive to go up there. And if you like good baseball and certainly a chance to see the hometown boys do the city proud, I would strongly suggest making that trip to Grant Chute.
And then if they'd win, they would play somewhere around 8, maybe more like 9 or 10.
10 on Thursday. And again,
it'll be a late night.
A lot of it hinges on the weather, and certainly what would a state tournament be without some kind of rain delay at some point. So
and hopefully they survive, and maybe Wednesday we could shoot a little state championship preview.
That would be awesome. I'd be all for it.
Maybe we'll see you back here then before a state title. We'll see.
Yes.
Between now and then, Beloit Turner going for a state softball tournament championship. Finally got past Delavan Darien in a regional final, and they've kind of mowed through Elkhorn and McFarland, and now they're at state, and a team that full of a lot of seniors, and then a couple of freshmen that have really come on big, and kind of the same way as Craig. They've earned the spot by what they've done throughout this
Did you
season.
Want to hop on board? Because I'm driving, and you haven't decided yet to get on the bandwagon. Are you on yet, or?
I don't cheer for anybody there.
Well, I'm not saying cheering. I'm just saying get on the bandwagon. No,
they certainly deserve it.
I know, and I've been high on the Lady Trojans all year because I just think they're so solid in so many ways. I mean, Kelsey Packard is as good a player as you'll find in the state. Mickelson, Fry, Kaylin Packard. I mean, there's just so many good players. It's not like it's 1 or 2. And when you can throw Packard on the mound and she's good for 8 or 10 strikeouts and they're going to score runs, and they haven't been doing it with mirrors. I mean, that's a talented group of kids, and they deserve to be there and playing for a state title, and they're 2 wins away from it. Waupun comes in with, I think, a 22-6 record, so a pretty good team as well. And again,
that'll be Thursday night,
6 o'clock at Goodman Diamond in Madison, which is located kind of behind the University Hospital a little bit, but it's another great venue, great place to watch the state tournament. But I think, I don't know exactly who Waupun has all played, but softball especially is the one tournament where pitching is such a big deal and such a key. And if you get a really good pitcher, you can sometimes hide some deficiencies that you might have, and I don't think the Trojans have to worry about that. They don't have any. Whereas maybe Waupun's just got a really good pitcher, and they hope to win games 1-0 or 2-0. I don't know, but I do know that Beloit Turner's going to score some runs.
Yep, they can hit all the way through the lineup.
Yep,
and that's the difference between the softball and the baseball tournament. And baseball pitching matters so much because you need to have 2 in Division 2, 3, and 4.
Yep.
You need 3 or 4 in Division 1 to really kind of find your way through that field. in softball, you need one ace.
You need
and
one
Kelsey
ace.
Packard is certainly that. And I think the other thing that impresses me most when I watch him, you watch so many high school games these days, and there's someone on the bench that's calling every pitch. Where should it be? What pitch should it be? Summer Amon and Kelsey call their own games together, and it's fun to watch. They're always. I rarely see her shake off Summer. I mean, they know what each other is doing, and they have a great rapport, and it's fun to watch that way, to where they just know what's going on. Right. They don't need anybody calling pitches or anything like that.
And the thing about softball that people, I'm sure they're aware of it, but when I look at a softball team's record, I look at the record when their starting pitcher pitches. I don't. If somebody's got 4 losses, okay, but how many of those losses did their ace pitch? And I don't think Kelsey Packard's lost a game all year.
I don't think so either. I know Kaylin Packard
pitched against Burlington
and the Evansville game. So those are the two.
So really, no offense to her, because she's going to be
she pitched very well.
She's going to be strong as well down the road.
And
but she's only a freshman.
They probably should have won the Evansville game.
But when Kelsey Packard takes the mound, Beloit Turner hasn't lost. And, that tells you something right there. And, again, that's that one thing about softball where records can be a little bit deceiving, because in doubleheaders especially, you don't throw your ace both games. And so sometimes you get a loss because you had to go to a backup. But with Kelsey starting, and like you talked about, the lineup 1 through 9, defensively they're solid. Amon is a very good catcher. You're not going to run on her, and Packard's going to get her strikeouts, and she can hit. And I would expect Turner to at least get to the championship game.
That would be 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon, yep.
And who's on the other side? Lacrosse Logan, is it?
Well, I think it was you that told me Lacrosse Logan has their pitcher throws the hardest in the state.
I heard a rumor about that.
Yeah,
and certainly I haven't seen her pitch.
I don't think you could probably tell that to Dan Bayrider from Janesville Craig, because I think he'd tell you the Union Grove pitcher throws harder than anybody they saw all year, including Kelsey Packard. So, and that tells you there's a lot of good pitching, especially when you get to state. That's how some teams have gotten there, is they just rode the arm of their ace, and they got them there because they won some close, low-scoring games. But, let's face it, you get to state, those teams are all good. And you got to have some breaks, and you got to make your own breaks. But, we'll see what happens. But, again, I've been leading the charge all year for Beloit Turner.
Yeah.
I'm not slowing down now, so I'm expecting them to at least play for a state title on Saturday afternoon.
Spring season, as fast as it got here, is quickly winding down, but hopefully we'll finish out maybe with a couple of area state champs.
That would be great.
At least a couple of, even if they don't win, some good showings at state, some good efforts.
Yep.
And should be fun to watch over the next week. Similarly to the NBA Finals, as long as those might drag on. I think most people would have picked Golden State going in. I would think that after Kyrie Irving goes down in Game 1, a lot of people were saying, well, this is going to be a 4-game series. Well, the Cavs have won Game 2 and Game 3 on the shoulders of LeBron and Matthew Dellavedova. And
does Andrew Bogut still play for Golden State?
It's 2-1 Cavs, and they've stolen home court.
What happened to Golden State? Where's Andrew Bogut? Where is Draymond Green? Where's Harrison Barnes? Did somebody tell them that there's a finals going on? They've been Andrew Bogut, all he does is grab guys when they go through the lane to set up a screen. He is worthless so far.
I think they just assumed that they could just throw it to the Splash Brothers and they'd take care of everything from here on out.
And Curry was good in the second half in Game 3, but he hasn't been on. And Klay Thompson
the Cavaliers' defense has really put the pressure on them.
Mike Miller was playing the other night. Mike Miller, he's as old as I am, I think. And no, but it just shows you the greatness of LeBron. I don't care what anyone says. He is the greatest player on the planet. There's no one close to him. You can argue all you want about other guys and Durant and
he should win the MVP every year.
Yeah, he's the best player.
If you're really voting for the most valuable player,
exactly.
Especially look at him right now. He's playing with a group of college seniors.
James Harden, Durant, Westbrook, Curry. Those guys are all great players, and Curry deserved the MVP. But let's face it, the best basketball player in the entire world is LeBron James. There's nobody else even in the equation. And he's proving it right now. He's got the most points after 3 games in the NBA Finals ever.
Yeah, but Bear, he's taking 140 shots in 3 games. He has to take too many shots.
He's also grabbing 16 rebounds, 10 assists. And he's doing it with guys. Can you name the starters for Cleveland? I can't.
No, I'm not an NBA guy either.
I've never even heard of Dellavedova before the tournament.
Outside of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, I couldn't really tell you who was on the Cavs to begin. I know
they got a big tall guy in the middle, but I don't know who he is.
Oh, Timofey Mozgov,
and
yes.
Iman Shumpert and J.R. Smith, who are New York Knicks cast-offs. Nobody wanted them, and J.R. Smith is, he's good one game, and then he
hands
commits
the ball to
5
the
fouls, and he's
commits
terrible.
silly
I mean,
fouls.
it's LeBron and a supporting cast that's marginal at best, but it just tells you how good LeBron is. And you and I said when we talked a couple weeks ago, you said, who do you like? I said, I like the Golden State in 7, and you said the Cavs in 6.
I love my spot right now.
And I said, you know what? If I was a betting man, I like Golden State, but I wouldn't bet a lot of money because I wouldn't bet against LeBron, and that's turning out to be true.
I mean, it's been incredible. And
he's not right.
If you're still out there trying to make a case against him, I just don't know. You
can hate him all you want.
You have too much time on your hands.
Yeah, you can hate him all you want, but the guy is incredible. He is at a different level than anyone else, and let the comparison start with Michael Jordan and LeBron, and you can say what you want about Jordan, but LeBron, I think, as an all-around player is better. He doesn't have the rings Jordan had, and Jordan certainly, put the NBA on the map again, but LeBron is a special talent.
I'm not an NBA guy. I don't really watch much during the regular season, maybe a couple Bucks minutes here or there. Maybe I'll watch in the playoffs. I haven't really watched much of anything this year, but I've pretty much watched most of Game 2 and Game 3 because it's been incredible.
Are we ever going to see
when
this
again? When you see Steph get going, you get hot. That's crazy in itself. LeBron obviously has just completely put a team on his back, and I won't miss much of any minutes of any of the remaining games as long as.
I agree, and I'm not a huge NBA fan. I like the Bucks, but this is something that we may never see again in my lifetime, just because it's such a rare occasion to have somebody basically playing 1-on-5 and finding a way to win.
The weird thing is, if Golden State finds a way to win Game 4, I would, the odds would probably go back in the Warriors' favor.
And they have to. If they get down 3-1, they're not coming back to win the next 3, because that means they would have had to win 2 games back at Cleveland, and I just don't. I don't see that happening.
Well, one game
at Cleveland,
but you'd have to win 3 in a row against LeBron's doing it.
I can't see that happening. LeBron's just, he's taken his talents to another level.
Should be fun to watch. Join us back here probably next week. We'll see, depending on the outcomes at state and things like that. But if there's a state championship game to preview, I'm sure
we'll be
doing it.
We'll break it down like they do on the MLB.
Even if we're running on like 3 hours of sleep because we didn't get back in Grand Chute until 4 in the morning or whatever.
Or if we decide to stay over at the luxurious Kohler Center or something.
Or if the city of Janesville wakes me up at 7 a.m. tearing up my street again.
There you go.
All that, we'll be back here next week. We'll cross our fingers and assume that we're going to be back here next week. And until then, follow us along on Twitter, GazetteXtra.com. Like us on YouTube and iTunes, and let us know what you think. Maybe you're still a LeBron hater. You can leave us a message there or email us at sports@GazetteXtra.com. And we'll do it all again next week.
Go Cougars, go Trojans.